What happens when Hollywood's most beloved star walks into the lion's den of daytime television? What you're about to witness is one of the most shocking celebrity meltdowns ever captured live on air. Dwayne Johnson, known for his calm demeanor, his relentless positivity, and his ironclad professionalism, completely unravels in a moment that no one saw coming. What began as a routine promotional interview quickly spiraled into a volatile, no-holds-barred clash. This wasn't just another celebrity getting testy. This was a public implosion, live and unfiltered, a collision of egos, ideology, and unspoken resentment. Before we break it all down, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments. Because you won't believe what happens next. The morning began like any other inside The View's New York City studio. Johnson arrived early, dressed in his signature black tee and jeans, flashing that megawatt smile that's made him one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. He was there to promote his latest action blockbuster, already a box office juggernaut. In the green room, he sipped coffee, reviewed talking points, laughed with producers. The vibe easy, predictable. Safe, the hosts greeted him warmly, Whoopi with a hug, Sarah with kind words about his recent charity work. Even Anna Navarro cracked a rare smile. But Joy Behar, she was conspicuously quiet. No greeting, no handshake. Just a tight, lipped nod as Johnson took his seat next to her when the show went live. The first few minutes were smooth. Whoopi asked about his workout regimen. He delivered his usual crowd-pleasing anecdotes. The audience laughed. The hosts nodded. Everything was going according to script. Until Joy spoke. She leaned in. Voice clipped, eyes locked on him. Dwayne, I want to talk about something that's been bothering me. Your recent comments about work ethic and success. The air shifted. Johnson's smile flickered but stayed intact. Sure, Joy. What would you like to know? She didn't hesitate. You've been going around saying that anyone can succeed if they work hard enough. But don't you think that's naive? You came from a wrestling dynasty. You had opportunities most people don't. Isn't it a little insulting to imply that those who struggle just aren't working hard enough? The studio fell silent. Even the crew froze. This wasn't the kind of question Johnson, or anyone, was expecting. He took a breath. I think there's a misunderstanding. I've always acknowledged that I've had help. I've never said hard work guarantees success, but I believe it's a vital part of it. That's a message a lot of people find empowering. But Joy wasn't done, not even close. Come on, Dwayne. You've made millions selling people a dream. You tell them if they grind hard enough, they'll make it. But that's a fantasy. Most people work hard and never get anywhere close to where you are. Don't you think you owe it to them to be more honest? It landed like a slap. Johnson's posture shifted. The smile was gone. His hands gripped the arms of the chair. I've always been transparent about my setbacks, my failures. I'm not hiding anything. But why are you turning this into an attack? Joy leaned back, eyes glittering. Because this is the truth, Dwayne. The American dream is a myth for most people. Social mobility is worse than it's ever been. And here you are, selling hope like it's a product, knowing full well that the system is rigged. You're not empowering people. You're cashing in on their desperation. Now even Whoopi looked stunned. The audience, frozen. Johnson's breathing grew heavier. That famous composure, tested in the ring, on red carpets, through years of Hollywood scrutiny, was slipping. Joy, he said, voice tight, barely controlled. I came here to talk about my film. I wanted to connect with your audience. I don't know what your goal is, but this isn't what I signed up for. Behar didn't flinch. Oh, but it is what you signed up for. You chose to be a public figure. You chose to influence millions, and with that comes accountability. You don't get to hide behind promo tours when someone challenges your message. At this point, the tension was unbearable. The studio crackled with anticipation. Backstage, Johnson's publicist was frantically gesturing to producers, but the cameras kept rolling. Johnson sat back, Something shifted in his expression, a storm gathering behind his eyes. "You know what, Joy?" he said, his voice suddenly quiet, almost dangerous. "I think I finally get what this is really about." What he says next, you'll have to hear to believe. "You know what, Joy?" Johnson said, his voice now edged with steel. The kind of tone that makes people sit up, stop breathing, and brace for what's coming next. "I think I finally understand what this is really about." Bahar's eyes narrowed. She knew that tone, and she relished it. She had pushed the unshakable Dwayne Johnson to the edge, and now she was ready to watch him fall. "Oh, really?" She smirked. "Do enlighten me." Johnson leaned forward. His frame, already massive, seemed to expand under the hot studio lights, his presence suddenly commanding the room in a way that silenced even the cameras. "This isn't about my message," he said, each word deliberate. "This isn't about hard work or motivation or success. This is about you, tearing people down because it gets you clicks, because it keeps you relevant. You don't like what I represent, Joy, because what I do threatens the little empire you've built on bitterness and outrage." The room dropped into a tense, breathless silence. Even the camera operators froze, instinctively zooming in to capture every twitch, every bead of sweat, every unspoken war playing out behind the eyes of the hosts. Whoopi's eyes went wide. Sarah Haynes visibly recoiled. Anna Navarro sat paralyzed, her lips slightly parted in disbelief. But Joy Behar, she didn't flinch. If anything, she leaned in. Relevant. She shot back, voice rising with venom. "That's rich coming from someone who spent his life playing dress up, pretending to be a hero while peddling fairy tales to desperate people. I've been speaking truth to power for decades. You've been selling fantasy to anyone not a V enough to believe you." Johnson's fists clenched. His jaw tightened. For a second, it looked like he might actually stand. The control he was known for, the calm, the smile, the charm, it was cracking, fast. "Fake," he repeated, his voice trembling with fury. "You think I'm fake? You think my work with veterans is fake? The scholarships I fund, the hours I spend in children's hospitals. You think that's PR?" Behar waved a hand dismissively, like she was swatting away a fly. "Oh, please, spare me the charity highlight reel. Every celebrity does it. It's a tax write-off with a photo op. I'm not talking about what you do. I'm talking about what you sell." This toxic optimism, this idea that if people just smile and work hard enough, they can be like you. It's not just fake, Dwayne. It's dangerous. The tension was now unbearable. Whoopi shifted forward, clearly about to step in. "Maybe we should." "No." Johnson cut her off, his voice slicing through the air. "No, let her speak. I want to hear this. I want to know why encouraging people to work hard and believe in themselves is suddenly considered harmful." Behar leaned back, triumphant. She had him, right where she wanted him. "Because your story isn't the norm, Dwayne. It's the exception. And when you stand on TV telling people they'll succeed, if they just grind hard enough, you're setting them up to fail. You're telling them that if they don't make it, it's their fault. That they didn't believe hard enough. Didn't hustle hard enough. That's not hope. That's a lie." Johnson's face was red now, his breathing heavy. The Dwayne Johnson American knew was gone. In his place stood a man ready for war. "So what's your answer, Joy?" he asked, voice shaking with anger. "Tell them to quit. Tell them not to try it. Tell them the world's broken, and there's no point fighting for something better." "No," she fired back. "I'm telling you to stop lying to them. Tell them the truth. That success is a lottery ticket. That hard work alone doesn't fix a rigged system. That most people lose, no matter how hard they try." The audience was dead silent, not a cough, not a shuffle. Just raw, stunned energy. This wasn't an interview anymore. This was a cultural reckoning unfolding in real time. Johnson slowly stood from his chair. His shadow stretched across the table like a storm cloud descending on the set. Security moved instinctively, just out of frame. "You know what your problem is. Joy, he said, voice now booming, echoing across the studio. You've given up. You've become so cynical, so bitter, that you can't stand anyone who still believes in something. You gave up on hope, so now you want everyone else to give up, too. Behar rose to her feet, small but defiant. She stared up at him like a veteran soldier staring down a tank. Hope, she sneered. You call what you're selling hope. I call it manipulation. I call it false advertising. I call it exploiting people's pain to build your brand. And with that, the air was gone. The moment suspended in silence. Everyone, crew, co-hosts, audience, was locked in place, witnessing what could only be described as daytime TV history. You're no different from a televangelist, Behar said coldly. Selling miracles to people who send in their last dollar. That landed like a punch to the throat. For Dwayne Johnson, it was the breaking point. His entire body tensed. His face twisted in fury, and for the first time in the interview, the mask dropped. He took a single step forward, looming over Behar. She instinctively stepped back. How dare you, he said, his voice now a low, venomous whisper, far more menacing than any shout. How dare you compare me to a con artist? How dare you imply I'm exploiting people? The other hosts shot to their feet. Whoopi moved quickly between them, trying to de-escalate. Okay, let's all just take a breath. Her voice had authority, but it was clear even she was rattled. Johnson didn't move. He pointed at Behar, his voice rising. Not in panic, but in righteous fury. You want to know what's really irresponsible, Joy? Telling people they shouldn't even try. Telling them not to dream. Crushing hope before it even has a chance to breathe. That's what you do. That's all you do. Behar's face flushed crimson. Her calm was gone now, replaced with pure heat. Negativity, she spat. No, it's called realism. It's called being honest. Someone has to tell people the truth instead of feeding them fairy tales about grit and dreams. Your truth is poison, Johnson shot back. Your truth tells people to give up before they even start. Your truth teaches failure as destiny. Well, I reject your truth, Joy. I reject everything you stand for. The studio was chaos now. Producers gestured frantically off camera. Audio techs had their hands on headsets. The audience sat frozen, half thrilled, half horrified. Behar's voice cracked as she fired back. You reject my truth. Well, I reject your lies. I reject your fake smile. Your PR charity reels. Your sanitized, corporate version of hope. Johnson's hands were trembling now. He had to force them to his sides to keep from acting on the fury shaking inside him. At least I'm trying, Joy. At least I'm out there helping, trying to lift people up. What have you done lately besides tear people down? When was the last time you lifted anyone up instead of burying them in your bitterness? That hit somewhere raw. For a split second, something in Behar's face faltered. A flicker of pain, too fast to catch unless you were really watching. But it was gone just as quickly, replaced by venom. I lift people by telling them the truth, she snapped, something you wouldn't recognize if it slapped that perfect face of yours. Johnson let out a bitter, hollow laugh. No warmth, no charm, just disbelief. The truth, he scoffed. You wouldn't know the truth if it came with cue cards and a teleprompter. You've lived in your little bubble of privilege and cynicism for so long, you've forgotten what real people face. Behar stiffened. Privilege. Her voice cracked in disbelief. You're going to lecture me about privilege? You, with your $100 million fortune, your private gym, your entourage. You think you can stand there and talk to me about struggle? The Johnson stepped closer, but this time his tone dropped. Quiet, steady, deadly. The difference is, I remember where I came from. I remember eviction notices. I remember wondering if we'd have dinner. And instead of using that pain to make others feel small, I use it to show them they can rise. That they don't have to stay stuck. The silence was suffocating now. Crew members exchanged glances, some pulling out phones, others scanning for security. The other hosts had stopped trying to intervene. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was a battlefield. Behar didn't flinch. But her voice dipped into something colder than anger. It was contempt. "You know what I think, Dwayne," she said, almost whispering. "I think you're scared. I think deep down you know I'm right. That everything you preach is built on sand. That the minute someone questions your story, it all crumbles." The line hung in the air like a loaded gun, and now everything hinged on how Johnson would respond. He stood still, silent, chest rising and falling with slow, deep breaths. The tension was unbearable. The silence stretched. Then something changed in his expression. The anger, the boiling, barely restrained fury faded, and what replaced it wasn't weakness, it wasn't defeat. It was something colder, sharper, more final. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, controlled, deliberate, but it landed with the force of a sledgehammer. "You know what, Joy?" Johnson said. His eyes locked onto hers. "You're absolutely right about one thing. I am scared, but not for me. I'm scared that people like you still have platforms. I'm scared that your brand of corrosive pessimism is mistaken for clarity. That your voice, so soaked in bitterness, is what passes for truth these days." A Behar opened her mouth, but Johnson raised a single hand. The gesture was calm, almost surgical, and it stopped her cold. "But here's what I'm not afraid of," he continued. His tone never rose. If anything, it grew quieter, colder, deadlier. "I'm not afraid of the truth, the real truth. That success is hard, that luck plays a role, that most people will struggle. But you know what else is true? So is effort, so is grit, so is believing in something even when the odds are against you." He stepped forward, not aggressively, but with finality. The room tensed as the light caught the hard lines of his expression. "You want to know what's really terrifying, Joy? It's not failure. It's someone like you. Someone who once probably believed in something, spending their platform convincing others that belief is a joke. That hope is for fools. That nothing's worth trying unless it's guaranteed." The silence in the studio was crushing. Behar's voice broke through, shaky but still defiant. "So what? I should just sit back while you sell people fantasies?" Johnson chuckled, not warmly. It was a cold, cutting sound. "No. I'm saying maybe you should ask yourself why you're so committed to proving that people can't rise above their circumstances. Why you need so badly for everyone to fail. Because if they don't, then you're wrong. And I don't think your ego could survive that." Behar's composure cracked. "Most people do fail, Dwayne. That's not cynicism, it's reality. And pretending otherwise is cruel." "No," he said, the finality in his voice freezing the air. "What's cruel is taking the last spark someone has and snuffing it out under the guise of honesty. What's cruel is wrapping surrender in a flag of wisdom. That's not truth, that's cowardice." He leaned in slightly, his voice now a whisper. "The difference between us, Joy. When I see someone drowning, I throw them a rope. When you see them drowning, you tell them the water was always too deep anyway." Behar said nothing. She couldn't. Her expression, tight, pale, unreadable, said more than words ever could. Johnson stood tall again. His next words weren't a yell. They didn't need to be. "I came here to talk about a movie. I found someone so buried in their own cynicism, they couldn't see the value in hope, even for a minute." He turned to the cameras. "If anyone watching, if you've ever been told to stop dreaming, don't. If you've ever been told the world is rigged against you, fight anyway. Hope is not weakness, and no, it's not guaranteed to work. But neither is silence, and giving up. That works every time." He pulled off his microphone with eerie calm and handed it to a stunned crew member. Then he turned back to Behar one final time. "You want the real tragedy, Joy? It's that you probably had dreams once, too. And somewhere along the line you decided they weren't worth it. Now all you know how to do is attack anyone who hasn't made that same decision." Behar tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. For once, there was nothing left to say. Johnson opened the studio door. Just before leaving, he glanced back, his tone flat, final. "I don't need to psychoanalyze you. You've already done the job for me. On national television. And with that, he was gone. The studio sat in complete, breathless silence. The cameras lingered on Behar's face. Her jaw clenched, her eyes betraying something she hadn't shown in decades. Not fury, not pride, not even outrage, but doubt. Then, Whoopi's voice, hushed, barely audible. "We'll be right back." But everyone knew there was no coming back from what had just happened.